Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I want to break down a test I did with my Stryd running pod and 10 different pairs of shoes. And the test I did was I went to a track and I did 10 by 1 kilometer, all at or very close to 4 minutes. And after each kilometer, I would swap out my shoes and put a Stryd running pod on the new shoe, do that kilometer, and cycle through that 10 times. And essentially what I was trying to find out is the power difference between shoes at the same pace. And to start the test, I used heavier daily trainers, and then as the test progressed, I switched into lighter race day carbon plated shoes. And I thought we could get things started by breaking down which shoes I used and in the order in which I used them. So the first kilometer, I used the Saucony Ride, and I don't feel comfortable using this interval as a data point. So first of all, my time was bang on 4 minutes, but we really struggled in finding that 4-minute pace. I feel like we were either going way too fast or way too slow, so it wasn't an evenly paced 4 minutes. So for purpose of this video and this test, I'm not really regarding this first interval as a true data point. Oh, and I'll put a graph up at the end so you can see my findings. Interval 2, I used the Nike Invincible. Then I switched into the Asics Nova Blast 3, then the Hoka Clifton 9. The next two pairs were kind of going away from daily trainer and more into like a tempo day shoe. So number 5 was the Hoka Mach 5. Number 6, I used the Saucony Kinvara. And then the final 4 shoes are all definitely racing specific shoes. So for number, what are we on, 7, I used the Asics Tarther 6. Now this isn't a modern super shoe, like a thick stack carbon plated. This is more a racing flat of the past. It's easily the lightest shoe in this list. And I just thought it would be interesting throwing an old school racing flat into the mix before I got into the modern super shoes. Number 8 on the list, I don't have the shoe here, but that is the Endorphin Pro 3 from Saucony. And then number 9 is a classic, the Nike Vaporfly 2. And finally, we finished off the test with the new On Cloudboom Echo 3. Alright, now the test itself. What I noticed was, especially those first 5 shoes, kind of more in the daily trainer category, most of them were over the 320 watt mark for me to run close to 4-minute pace. And then the final 5, which were all lighter, faster, more responsive shoes, they were all under 320 watts. So I'll try to put a graph up on the screen so you can see my findings, and you can definitely see a slope down in terms of power or watts, which means towards the end I was using less watts to run the same pace as I did early on in the test. And one of the interesting findings was interval 2, I used the Nike Invincible, and I came in at 357, and my average power output was 325 watts. And then you fast forward to interval 9 when I used another Nike shoe, the Vaporfly 2. This one I came in at exactly 357 as well, so the same time. However, my power output was 312 watts. So that was a 4% savings in watts or power over using the Nike Invincible. There were even a couple of other things that I noticed during this test. One of the big ones was just switching from the daily trainers into the modern super shoes. It felt so much easier to run 4-minute pace. Just felt like they had way more energy return. And I will mention, even running in this shoe, the Asics Tarther 6, the old school racing flat, this was my jam like 5 years ago. This was the type of shoe that I just loved. And I remember we had just started the interval in this shoe, and I turned and looked at my training partner and I said, these shoes are just trash. They have really low stack height, so the cushioning is very firm, and it felt like I was just running on a stiff piece of wood. Yes, I can run fast in this shoe, however, because the cushioning is so firm, I felt like it would just beat my legs up if I did a really big workout in this shoe. So that's something to remember as well. These new thick race day shoes, they offer your legs a lot of protection from the pounding on the pavement. And for purpose of this test, I didn't even run on pavement. I was just running on a soft track, and I still noticed that my legs would have gotten beaten up in this shoe. And then another interesting thing was throughout the test, my heart rate climbed, kind of plateaued, and then especially during the final 2 intervals, my heart rate actually dipped back down. So on intervals 9 and 10, when I was using the Vaporfly and the On race day shoe, Not only was I able to run the same pace at a lower power output, but I was also able to have my heart rate come down that late into a workout. And it was also super hot during the time that we had done this workout. So pretty interesting findings, and I will mention a couple of other things. First of all, this test was just done at 4-minute pace. Honestly, for me, that's nowhere near my race pace. If I were to do it again, I would probably do the kilometers kind of in that 310 to 320 per kilometer pace. And I think at those faster paces, you're going to see an even greater variance in power versus a daily trainer and a carbon plated race day shoe. And another thing I'll mention is, to be totally accurate doing this test, you're probably better to do it on a treadmill, just making sure that you have the same cadence between each of the shoes. But we did our best for this test and really tried to keep the grouping of all the intervals as tight as we could. And ultimately, I guess my conclusion for this test would be, for myself, running about 4 minutes a kilometer versus a daily trainer and then a carbon plated race day shoe, I think I could safely say I get about a 1 to 4% savings in watts. And I think that would definitely skew more towards 4% once I start picking up the pace and going my actual race pace. So anyways, I hope some of you found that interesting, some of you data nerds out there. If you have any questions about the test, leave your comments down below and I'll get back to you. I'm hoping to do many more tests with my Stryd running pods and lots of other different types of shoes. So anyways, if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more everything running. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.